Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. All right, hello, and thank you for tuning into today's show. On today's show, we're going to continue to use the show's namesake to break down the Word of God. I hope that after another application of the method, you will be well on your way to allowing the Word of God to not just be read by you, but permeate throughout your heart, soul, and mind. Okay, let's get into this next seal, the fifth seal. And as we spoke about in the prior episode, this is actually a continuation of the previous seal. Because after the Antichrist, the beast, established his authority, and right around the time where the individuals were in awe of him and he started to establish the new economic system and they began to worship him, a great persecution, the death that was occurring became more focused on the people of God and not so much focused on in a more random fashion. It was more focused on the people of God, and that started happening in the fourth seal. Now, this fifth seal is an introduction to a scene where those saints that were already slain for the word of God, primarily in the fourth seal, are crying out to the Lord. Their souls have been made aware, and they were conscious of what's happening on the earth, and they are crying out to the Lord, asking Him, how long, Lord, will it be? So this is where we're going to pick up. Okay, in Revelation 6 and 9, it reads, "And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given to every one of them, and it was said to them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled." Okay, so as the last part suggests, there's more brethren to be killed. So this is clearly still in the midst of that great tribulation time frame where the saints of the Lord are being worn out, as spoken of in the book of Daniel. And they have rejected the emperor, the beast system. They have rejected his economic and his religious doctrine, and they have rejected the ways of the Babylonian system. And because of that, they have become an enemy of the empire, if you will. And they gave their lives for the testimony of Yeshua. And we know that the testimony of Yeshua is the spirit of prophecy. So they knew who the beast was, what he was about. They knew it was not the second coming of the Lord. They knew that this kingdom, this peace, was not the peace from the Sar Shalom, the Prince of Peace. They knew that they had not begun the millennial kingdom. They knew who the beast was and what his system was about, and therefore they were a liability to the dragon's kingdom. So let's kind of break it down a little bit before we get into all the parallel supporting verses. Again, this is a continuation of what has already transpired in the fourth seal, where all the death has taken place, and now the death is more focused on the saints, and it's not so much worldwide death through war and famine and pestilence, but it's a focused attack on those who are in opposition to the way that has been recently established. And the falling away has occurred, and much of this persecution is actually happening from individuals that used to say they are believers in Yeshua or believers in Jesus. And we know, obviously, at this point that they are not, if we did not know before, because they walked with us and they no longer continued down the path, much like their leader, who is the epitome of the Antichrist, who said he was a believer and no longer is. All right, so let's look here. We talked about this, some of these, the context of this in the afterlife episode as well, because we can see that under the altar, which is for sacrifice, and we know that these souls were sacrificed for the word of God, slain, they're martyred souls for the word of God. They are under the altar in the vision that John sees in heaven. And they were there because they had the testimony of Yeshua. So it says that they were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And we know that that's the testimony of Jesus, which is the spirit of prophecy. That altar is again where the sacrifice, where you would sacrifice those things that are worthy to be sacrificed to God. And that's why these individuals are in that setting. Now, what is happening here is that they ask a question. So they are made conscious of what is going on the earth. And they ask a question about how long before the earth is judged because of what they have done in the killing of the saints. So essentially, they awoke from their rest. They were made aware again. Their souls were once again made aware by the Spirit, and they were able to consciously ask a question. And the Lord granted them the white robes, which is symbolic of their righteousness, and told them to rest for a little season. So he told them to go back to rest, and don't worry, essentially, because when your brothers have been killed the way you were, then all will be fulfilled and judgment will soon come thereafter. That is what they should have understood, and they did. So keep in mind that this is relating to the Great Tribulation period, which has never happened before, not even during the time of 70 AD or in any other time that the Roman Empire has persecuted the saints. It's never been this bad, and the word says it will never be that bad or this bad ever again. So this is where we are. They're going back to rest. And we do know that Ecclesiastes says that the dead know nothing. So how could they know? Again, because the Spirit made them aware. Their souls came up from the rest that they were in, and they were conscious. Now they're going back to the rest, and the Spirit will then be taken from them so that their souls can rest. So that is essentially what is happening. They're going to rest and wait for all to be fulfilled. Okay. Let's look at some parallel verses. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 21, it says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled." All right, so you can see Luke is giving additional guidance as to what's happening during this time. All must be fulfilled in this place and time. And they're called Gentiles. If you know, in the book of Matthew, it talks about reconciling with your brother. But he says if the brother will not reconcile, when it gets down to it, he is essentially to be treated as a publican and a heathen or a Gentile, right? And essentially is no longer your brother. So these Gentiles, those who once believed and those who never subscribed, it is their time. It is their time. And so here we have Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So here's a promise from the Lord that not only to the saints, which we did the very first episode of From Observation to Meditation, spoke about this verse because we gained great insight on meditating on the Word of God. Now, what we see here is that this is talking about not just the great tribulation against the saints, but it's going to get so bad that everything on earth that lives, all flesh, would be in danger had this period of time not been shortened by the Lord's return. So once again, the Lord does not just save those that love him, but he saves everyone that is alive on the earth. Once again. And the interesting thing about it is that some of those who rose up against him will come to worship on the Feast of Tabernacles, which again shows you what a true king is all about, right? So we have a situation here from when you're meditating on this word, what is essentially happening is that the God of this world has turned against not only the saints, but everyone that has flesh, right? Because he's an enemy of man. And even those who chose him are in great danger had it not been for Sar Shalom. All right, so let's look here. We have Matthew 24 and 23. And let's continue. It says, then if any man shall say to you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Right? So we talked about this a little bit last episode when the false prophet rose and he did incredible signs, fire from the sky and all types of miraculous feats through the power of the dragon, which is Satan, that evil spirit who was the god of the world. He did incredible signs and he deceived the world with it, and they took him as God to worship him and the dragon. All right, so this is essentially the context of where all of this persecution is happening and why so many have left the calling in droves, right? For many are called, but few are chosen. They left to follow the tangible. Like the foolish virgins, they were able to buy and sell. How is it possible that they can buy and sell when midnight is here, right? We know that only those who can buy and sell are those who have the mark of the beast. So, wherefore, if they shall say to you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So he's reminding them, you should not be deceived by these false prophets, because when I come, I'm going to come the same way that I left, right? That's what the book of Acts in chapter 1 says. He's going to return on the cloud of glory, right? He was taken up and ascended, and he will come back in like fashion. Everyone will see it. It will not be any type of hologram or electronic type of situation. To be quite honest with you, during that time, it could very well be doubtful that any major electronic equipment will have function, because we're going to talk about in the next seal an amazing event, and it's not the type of events that most people believe it is. This is not a natural occurrence. So we're going to talk about that and the implications of God showing his sovereignty, not of just the earth, but of the heavens. So let's continue. Now, in Revelation 14 and 13, and I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, said the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. So as we can see, this is talking about those individuals who are dying in the Lord. This is in the very same context as the martyrs. And then it talks about we're going to go to Revelation on why they were dying, why they were being killed. It says, and he had power. One of the reasons why they were being killed, other than the testimony that they had, is because they did not worship the dragon, and they did not worship the beast and the dragon. Why? Because they had the testimony of Yeshua. The word of God caused them to do that which was righteous and godly. And it says, and he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. See that? So we spoke about that. So those foolish virgins should not have been able to go and buy and sell anything and to interact with the merchants, because if they were truly of the Lord, their lives would be in danger in making such and going to try to accomplish that task. All right, so let's summarize this regarding those who the Lord has given the white robes to and their brothers and sisters that are to follow them. In Revelation 20 and 4, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, Yeshua, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. All right. So that is the hope for those in the fifth seal, and those who died before them, and those who will die after them. That is the hope. They will be with Christ wherever he is. And the next fulfillment of their hope, the promise of their hope being realized, is reigning with him in his kingdom. That is the end of this week's episode. I hope you will tune in next week on From Observation to Meditation. Shalom.